today I'm going to show you how to build mobile-ready apps that integrate quickly and easily with Dynamics SL. The technologies used in this are the Catalina Technology API for Dynamics SL and the Form.io form and API workflow tools. When using the app builder, there are two types of roles or users that would be involved in creating an app. There's the resource administrator. This is the person that manages the mapping between Dynamics SL and the app. They're the ones that are using the Catalina API for Dynamics SL to map the resources in SL, such as a customer or a ship-to address or service contract or AP record or whatever it is, and be able to make sure that they're exposing the appropriate resources out to the app builder, and make sure that they're exposing only the fields that they want to be made available to this app builder. And they'll also decide base control types and data types, so things like images or text fields, dates, and any kind of edit masks that they'd want to go and set up on the base data types. The other type of role is the form developer. This is the person who's creating the form and embedding it into their app. They're also in charge of the user interface to make sure that that user interface works for the user and the type of device that they're working on. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to start building out my resources and my form to build a whole application. So in Form.io, I've got a project, and I'm just, for lack of better terms, I'm calling it the Catalina Dynamics SL API. I'm going to click into that, and I'm going to put on my resource administrator hat, and I'm going to define resources that are tied to the resources back in SL and use the mapping through the Catalina API for Dynamics SL. So I can see I've got a few of them here. I can look through. I had service contracts. I have a few lookups here for states, customer class, whatnot. Let me look at the customer one. And if I drill into customer, I can then look at the fields that I've made available for customers. So I don't have all the fields that are tied to customer. I'm just making available the fields that I want my form application developer to be able to have access to. And so I've even got some user fields and things like that. So if I go and edit this resource, I can then look a little bit further and see that if I click into customer ID, it then ties back to cust ID in Dynamics SL, and it's mapping to the actual API call that Catalina provides, and we'll go and create a two-way communication between Dynamics SL and through the form builder. I can also do some various things like input masks. So say I wanted to go and format this as a phone number. I could easily do this like this. And now I've got an edit mask. Now I don't want to go and edit mask cust ID, but I could go down and edit, say, the phone, and let me put in an edit mask of that. And I can save that, and I can also see that this is going to the customer phone number, and I can save that. So I've built out this resource. I'll save this resource. And then there's another important thing that the resource manager or resource administrator would do is define permissions. So if I click in permissions, I can see all types of permissions here. Now I've got everything as anonymous just because I wanted to make this an easy demo to do, but you can see that we've got the ability to read submissions, update submissions, and a submission is really when somebody presses that submit button and saves a record back through the API, through the form and everything like that. So I've got reading. I've also got the ability to lock down so that they can only read their own submissions or update their own or delete their own. So that way, if you want to be able to lock down something, you can certainly do that. Now I've got roles that are anonymous, and I can also go and show administrator or authenticated. And there's a way to create additional roles. And a role is really a group, and you assign users to those groups. So you could create a group just for, say, order entry, where all they do is can create orders, but they can't update a customer record. Then you could go ahead and create a role that would be, say, for AR. And that AR person can probably update a customer along with their class and their terms and those types of things. So this really allows you to create resources that then tie back into SL through the Catalina API. Now I'm going to go ahead and put on my form developer hat, and I'm going to start building an app. So first I want to show that I've created a framework of an app right now where I'm bringing back a listing of customers. And these are coming back from the resources. And what I want to be able to do is click on a company and then be able to see form information. So I'll want to be able to have a whole way to then edit that customer. So right now I have something that's very basic that really doesn't do anything but allow me to see a list of customers that we have and then be able to click into a detail that doesn't show me anything. So let me go back into my Form.io site, and I'm going to start building out a form. I've already started a customer form, and it's empty right now. So let me go and hit Edit, and now I want to start building out this customer form. So you can see here I've got a blank form with just nothing but a Submit button, and says let's drag and drop. So if I look down here, I can see all my different resources that have been made available to me by my resource administrator. So let me go into the customer fields, and now I can see a whole variety of customer fields here. So what I want to do is start building out my customer form. So let's put out the customer, let's put out their name, maybe the email address, address 1, 2, and we'll put out a few more things out here. State, let's put out city, zip, and we could even put out some user fields as well. And let's say that this is done. If I wanted to add some additional edit masks, we could do that, where we can click on this, and we have a way to override some of the edit masks here, and that would be specific to the user interface and application of this specific form. But then once I'm done, I can then go down and hit Save. Now I've saved that form, and let me go back to my app, because this is the cool thing. I go back to my app, and I just hit refresh, and automatically that form is generated into my my app. So I haven't had to do any programming at all. I've just gone and embedded it here. And if I hit Back to List, and let's say I want to look at a different customer, I can do that, and it'll bring that customer back. So you can see how that's the customer name and all the information here. So with no programming at all, just dragging and dropping and defining which fields I want to show and in which format and location I want them, I can quickly do that without having to do any coding. Now that was pretty exciting. We easily create a form without having to do anything, but why don't we try to do something now? So I've got this form here, and I've got this customer. I'm going to bring up Dynamics SL and show that, and I've forgotten the customer ID already, so it's CT0131. CT0131. I'm going to bring up that customer in SL. So I can see that it's Gary Scare, whatever that is. So now let's go ahead and see how this app can now interact with Dynamics SL. So I'll go back to my form and put it Gary Scares and hit Submit. And now that's gone and updated the resource, and when I go back into Dynamics SL, I can now see that it is automatically changed. So without any programming and all we did was data mapping and dragging and dropping fields. We've been able to create a form in seconds that can then integrate back into Dynamics SL. So let's do something a little bit more exciting. So I've got some other things here in my, my form builder, and let's see that we've got service contract. So I've got this great little form that's service contract. So let's say I'm a field rep that's out there getting information and updating information about a service contract out in the field. So if I go back into let me go back into here. I've kind of built out my app a little bit since I've already built the form, but I've got a list of contracts, and if I click on one of those contracts, I can drill down and I can see that information. So based on, and I'll go back into Form.io real quick, based on how I defined this form, I then, when I go back to my app, I can see how that form looks in my app. And so it makes it really easy to be able to deal with this. But now, let's do something really, really interesting, and let's go a little bit farther. So if I go back into Form.io, let me edit this. Let's say I want to do something really kind of cool where I want to capture a signature. So now we've got these form components that aren't really tied yet to a resource, but if I go and drag signature over here, and then if I go to API, I can then choose which resource and field that was exposed by the resource administrator I want this to go to. So let's go and send this to service contracts, and I'm just going to put it into the notes field because it's a field, it's a large text field, and so I can capture a signature against that. So if I hit save, now I've got a signature field, and I hit Save Form. So that's saved that form there, and if I go back to my app, and I hit refresh, now you'll see that I've got a field here that is a signature. So in our example here, we've got a person that's out in the field that's working with the customer, and we want them to capture a signature. So let's say that they've got a Surface tablet or an iPad or something like that. The customer can take a look at this, okay, that's the amount, so forth and so on, and then just sign it. I'm using my mouse. I don't have my stylus because I don't have a touch screen here, but I've just gone and entered that in, and I hit submit. Now it's updated it. So let's go back into SL, and let's bring up the service contract screen, and let's find that service contract. Let's see, what was the ID of that? 001. I see 001, and I've gone and created a simple little customization in SL where I've got signature, and if I click on that, then I'll be able to see that my signature's there. So let's just make sure that this is legit. I wrote in BKW, but let's take a look at this again, and let's clean that out. And I can do another signature. I'm not the best drawer in the world. And I hit submit. Now it's updated, so if I go back into SL and click on that signature again, I can see that now I've got that signature. So in just a couple seconds, I've gone and added a field that's a complex data type or a complex control, dropped it into my app, and then I've been able to send that data back to SL in a text format that can then be shown in a customization. So before the customer can say signature, you can already be embedding that signature in the contract and emailing a PDF off to the customer saying, hey, here's your signed contract, let's go for it. Now, in this example, I'm just doing it in service contract, but as you noticed, I just tied it to notes. I can go and save a signature against anything, or I can save any kind of data type against anything that's been exposed by the resource administrator. So this can be contracts, it can be quotes, it can be invoices, it can be whatever you want. So this really becomes very, very powerful when you can go and easily create an app without having to do a lot of work. So instead of getting stuck with a pre-built app where you've got to do a lot of programming, what we're providing here is integration to a form builder that then ties back into SL. Okay, just to prove that this is not just limited to web apps, I'm going to show how I can build this into a simple Windows Universal app. This can also easily be embedded in iOS or Android apps. Let me close down my SL session, and I'll just go and bring up an app that I build. I've just called it SL Customer. I can click on that. And now I've got a native app that's embedding this form information in it. So just like in the app that I built in the web, I can click in and I can see all the information that I would normally see with the web, but now I've got it built into an actual app that I can manage. I'd like to thank you for your time. I think we've got some very exciting capabilities to be able to integrate apps with Dynamics SL. If you have any questions, you can see our website at www.catalinatechnology.com, or you can contact me at brian@catalinatechnology.com. Thank you very much.